Good morning everybody. So Halloween's gone, Christmas is just around the corner, and I want to get all these jobs done before it gets properly cold, before we've had our first proper frost, because we haven't had our first proper frost, which is, I'm quite glad about it actually. And it's now November, I think we're on November 3rd or 4th, and the weather is still so warm, it's still so mild. So today what I want to do, I want to plant my garlic, I want to clear some leaves, especially out of the pond. And I just want to do them jobs that you're going to want to do before the ground is frozen, because it's going to be cold outside and you're not going to want to do them. So let's get on, shall we? All summer I was looking at that bed, I was thinking, you're not square, you're not square, you're not square. I'd have my nice neat row of beds and that one would be sticking out a bit to the back, so I've pulled it forward a bit and it looks so much better. It's literally 2.5 inches, and I just pulled it out 2.5 inches, stick a bit more of wood in there, and it made me happy, because stuff like that annoys me because it's not square, and I've got all my beds lined up, and yeah, so I just had to fix that. And that's the bed I'm going to be putting my garlic in this year, but I need to get all them weeds and all them potatoes out. So how to grow garlic. So what you want, you're going to want a nice place to grow them, preferably with compost, which would make sense. And you really want to spend the time to weeding it, because the more weeding you do now, the less you'll have to do later. And I've probably spent about half hour, because I did have potatoes in here, and I spent half hour digging it all over, giving it a good dig, just because I've had potatoes in there for a few years now, and I really went probably about half a foot down, just trying to get all the potatoes out, and hopefully most of them are out. You're always going to have, if you grow any sort of root vegetable, like preferably potatoes, you're always going to have them poking up again. You know, ask any gardener, you're always going to find potatoes growing after you harvest them, because you'll never get them out again, which is why I like to do them in the pots. So garlic, I'm going to show you how to do it now, what varieties is best. Right here, I'm not sure if it's a hard neck or soft neck, completely forgot, but you can check by looking at them, and I'll put a few links in the description for stuff like that, to have a read, maybe like the RHS, Gardeners World website, stuff like that. I've got 2 bulbs here, and I'm going to plant them, and I'm going to show you how. So garlic is one of the most easiest things to grow, in my opinion. You sow it around October time. I tried to do it on Halloween this year, but I couldn't, because I didn't have the time on that day. But we're doing it on the Sunday. Halloween was on the Thursday. But people like to do it on that day. It's a bit of a tradition. And it always comes out lovely. And I did mine so early. I think I did it maybe late September last year. And they came out lovely. But this weather so far has been so warm in the autumn, I'm getting quite worried, because if I plant these, so let's say if I planted them late September like I did last year, they may have grown, they might have shooted, and they might have grown too much, so when we have a frost they might actually die back a bit. Now garlic, you do want to get in the ground before we have our first frost, or like a proper hard frost, and that's just so they can form their bulb. Because you'll put them in now, and hopefully, if you see, they might have a little green shoot about an inch and a half, maybe even like I had mine like that, 4 inches at this time of year last time. And what the frost is doing to it is getting it a nice proper garlic bulb, but it's making it nice and hard. The frost makes it a lot more tastier. So that's why you should always plant them this time. I think there are some varieties that you can plant in the spring, but I'm not so sure. So anyways, with planting them, you're going to want them, you don't have to put them in a nice straight line, but I'm trying to be a bit of a perfectionist because, you know, just even like sticking that out a bit, I'm going to put mine in a nice straight line. I'm going to, garlic, you're going to want it around 6 inches. So I'm going to have my bamboo cane as my straight edge. I'm going to have it 6 inches there. Come down here, have it 6 inches here. And then every 6 inches. So I'll plant my first one there. Move that over a little bit so I've got a bit of space. So you don't plant the whole bulb. You'll buy a bulb, or you might even buy the separate clothes, but it's best to buy the bulb. You're going to want to split it open, bit of pressure against the straight edge, do a nice job. You just want to push down and it will separate them, he says. And you're going to plant the clove. So here's the clove. You've got the top, you've got the bottom. You put the bottom into the soil, like the onions that I showed you how to sow in last week's video. If you didn't see that video, go check it out now. I'll put a little card right now. But yeah, you plant in the bottom, and I'm going to use my handy diver, which I think was just like a snow shovel. Someone gave it to me. Mum and Dad's job, so I'm not quite sure. But you're going to want it about 2.5 inches deep. Now I'm going to put some compost on top of this right now. So I'm going to put it probably about 1 inch deep because I'm going to be putting more compost on top. But the rule of thumb is that you're going to want it about 2.5 inches deep. And then you're just going to want to cover it like so. So do that for how many cloves you want to plant, and I'll come back to you. So there we go, just like that. I've got all my garlic planted, and then I ran out just about here. I had a little corner here, so I planted my blueberry plant there. And that'll do okay, it will survive. It needs some acidic soil really. But one thing you're definitely going to want to do is label them. Label them. It's so important. If I can quite remember where the rows are, something about that. And I did mine 6 inches apart on the rows, and then I did it about there, and then I did 12 inches apart on the rows, and then I did 6 inches that way and 12 inches that way because in early spring I might want to sow something where the plants aren't so big, which will help to get me more food in the same amount of space. So yeah, so what you want to do is give them a little water if the soil's if the soil's quite dry, which mine is. You don't want to completely drown them because, you know, especially if you're in the UK, especially England, it rains a lot. And what you're going to want to do is just leave them here. If you want to put some sort of enviromesh on them to stop any like aphids, or maybe, I don't know if it helps with the garlic rust, but you can do that, which I may do, but I won't be doing that today because I've got nothing to cover. So yeah, that's how you plant garlic. Let's get on with the next job, shall we? winter is just around the corner and the temperatures are going to be getting colder. It's important to feed the birds, especially if you haven't got that much stuff around for them to find. And I know the farmer's just cultivated his field right there, and I can see hundreds of birds going for worms. But it's good to give them some food over winter, even if you just do it every now and again. I know some people may say you've got to do it very often because they rely on you, but if you just help them out maybe once a week, you know, it definitely does help them out a bit. I've run out of bird seed and the blocks or whatever you call them, so I'm going to get some more this afternoon, and that should be good to help feed the birds. So these are the onions from last week that I showed you how to sow, and look, the brown ones have came up lovely. But what you want to do, if there's some of them aren't coming up, is just cut their top off. You might want to go a bit low, and you might even see some green, and that will just encourage them to grow. This one, look, some of them are a bit rotten, I think. Yeah, just want to cut them off. And it will encourage them to grow. If you can, please like, subscribe and comment. It really does help on the channel. Makes me know you're liking it, and it just, you know, it just helps. Did you see there, I gave that bed of mulch with the compost. I planted 5 cyclamen over there. I planted 5 cyclamen over here. I've got my brassicas and cabbages and broccoli over in the greenhouse, which will be planted out soon. But anyways, I'm Freddie and I'm the young gardener. See you soon.